All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the SPP APR, the Part B technical webinar. My name is Alec Walker. I'm with the Partner Support Center. A few notes to keep in mind during today's webinar. So everyone is on mute today, but to ask a question, please enter it into the Q&A box. This should be on the right-hand side of your screen. You can also enable this. I believe in the bottom right, there should be a button to select that says QA. The presentation will be available on the SPP APR Community of Practice site after today's session. So that'll be the slide deck and a video audio recording of today's session. And we will be answering technical questions during today's presentation. So please add those questions into the Q&A box as you think of them, and make sure to click send so we're able to view them. All right, so our agenda for today is as follows. First, we're going to review the timeline of the SPP APR for Part B. We'll review some FFY 2021 changes. We'll also review the user roles. And a bulk of today's presentation is going to be the system features in the SPP APR. And then we'll also review a recorded system demonstration of Part B and some TA documents. And then, of course, throughout this whole presentation, we'll be answering any of your technical questions. So please note that this webinar is focused on the technical aspects of using the system. So the Q&A panel will be monitored, and we will respond to questions that are technically related. So next, here's the timeline for the SPP APR Part B. So Part B is scheduled to open December 19th, 2022. So that's this coming Monday by 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and is scheduled to close on February 1st, 2023, 11:59 p.m. Local time. So everyone's midnight is when it will close, depending on where you are in your in the country. The state clarification period will be April 13th through April 27th. And then we will also have a final review period, and determinations will be issued on June 23rd, 2023. All right, so next, the next two slides actually will highlight the changes and revisions for the SPP APR for Part B for FFY 2021. So just starting from the top, so there have been some changes to how all indicators behave in the APR tool. So first, the current and prior year targets, historical data, and baseline data are preloaded. There are preloaded values for current year targets, baseline year, and baseline data, which are now editable. And the status and slippage fields will appear as NA until data is actually entered and saved. Next, we'll go to the actual indicator-specific updates. So indicator 2, the dropout indicator, option 2 has been removed, so states may only use a single measurement. For indicator 8, parent involvement, states must include race/ethnicity and at least one demographic in their analysis of the extent to which the demographics of the parents responding are representative of the demographics of children receiving special education services. And also the response rate tables have been updated to include the current year value, and it'll be used to compare 2021 responses to 2020 responses. And continuing on, we have some changes for indicator 9. So we've updated the following question in the SPP APR 2021 data table is now manual entry only. So that question is, if yes, the state may only include in both the numerator and denominator districts that met the state established N and or cell size. Report the number of districts excluded from the calculation as a result of the requirement. And that also goes for indicator 10 as well. Same question will be manual entry only. And then we also have some updates to indicator 14, post-school outcomes. So states must include race/ethnicity and at least one demographic in their analysis of the extent to which the response data are representative of the demographics of youth who are no longer in secondary school and had IEPs in effect at the time they left school. So the response rate tables have been updated to include the current year value and will be used to compare 2021 responses to 2020 responses. All right, so moving on to the user roles. So the user roles for this year are the same as last year. There are 4 total roles and they vary just a little bit depending on what you're comparing. So the view users can only view data. They can view and print the SPP APR and view OSIP responses and required actions during the clarification phase. They can also enter state internal comments. The data entry users have the same permissions, but they can also edit and update data as well. So they can view, enter, and update data, as well as view and print SPP APRs. However, they cannot submit the SPP APR. And they can also enter state internal comments and view OSIP responses and required actions during the clarification period. And next, third is the super user or users. These folks can basically do everything. They can view, enter, update data, and they can also submit the SPP APR. And they can also view and print SPP APRs, the internal comments, OSIP reviews, and required actions. And then fourth and final is the submission release user. So these users can view and submit their state's SPP APR. However, they cannot update or edit data. They can also view and print their SPP APRs and enter state internal comments and view those OSIP responses and required actions. So, and this is really important in preparation for Monday's Open. If for any reason you or someone in your state needs different permissions or a change needs to be made with users, the Part B state director for the state must contact PSC to request that access be adjusted or new accounts be created. If a new account is required, we do require their name, title, email, phone number, and the user role to get the account set up. So if you do need any updates or you'd like to create a new user, deactivate any users, please contact the Partner Support Center via email at edfax@ed.gov. All right, so next we'll be reviewing system features. So first, we'll be covering historical data. So many of the SPP APR tables are preloaded with prior year data and responses. The historical values of the data element appear in the system, and because they are considered historical, they may not be edited. Please let PSC know if you have any questions regarding historical data. All right, next, we're going to be reviewing the Part B pre-filled data. So other data that appear in the system are pre-filled. Pre-filled data for the Part B SPP APR are made up of 618 data submissions to EMAPs, which cannot be updated, and also some specific EDFAX data files. So we have the snapshot dates listed on the next three slides. This slide covers indicators 1, 2, 3A, and 3B. I'm going to review each of these directly. So for instance, indicator 1 and 2 are pre-filled from EDFACS file FS009. This is for school year 2021. And that data was basically pulled from a snapshot on May 25th, 2022, and will not be refreshed. So indicators 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D all deal with assessment data. So indicators 3A and 3B on this slide pull from file spec 185 and 188 for indicator 3A for school year 21-22. And then indicator 3B pulls from file spec 175 and 178 for that same school year 21-22. One thing that's really important here is that the data snapshot for the assessment files actually isn't occurring until December 21st, 2022, and won't be loaded into your APR tool until January 5th, 2023. So what that basically boils down to is when you all open your SPP APR Part B on Monday, you will not have your assessment data pre-filled in indicators 3A, 3B, 3C, or 3B. When the data is updated and loaded into the SPP APR on January 5th, 2023, we will send a broadcast out to everyone letting them know that it's now in there. And I already kind of covered indicators 3C and 3D, but again, those are pulled from 3C and 3D are pulled from file spec 175 and 178 for school year 21-22, and follow that same sort of timeline for pre-fill. The snapshot won't occur until December 21st, 2022, and the data will not be loaded until January 5th, 2023. And then indicator 5 is pre-filled with EDFACS files FS002 for school year 21-22. And this is pulled from a data snapshot on July 6th, 2022, and will not be refreshed. And finally, we have indicators 6, 15, and 16 that also have EDFACS files pre-filled. So indicator 6 has EDFACS file 089 for school year 21-22, pre-filled from that July 6th, 2022 snapshot date. And then both indicators 15 and 16 have data pulled from the school year 21-22 EMAPS IDEA Part B dispute resolution. This was submitted on November 2nd, 2022, and will not be refreshed. So if anyone has any questions about their pre-fill data when they get into the SPP APR, obviously we have a lot of TA documents. You can look over the state template, the user guide, but if you do have questions about specifically where that data is coming from, or if you can't replicate those counts that you're seeing in your SPP APR, you can contact the Partner Support Center. All right, so moving on to descriptions of stakeholder involvement. So the descriptions of stakeholder involvement are collected in the introduction and can be applied to all results indicators. Note that all of the elements of the stakeholder involvement information may be applied. If you choose to apply this to all results indicators, the narrative entered into the introduction will appear in each one. In addition to that narrative, you can provide additional information in each of those subsequent results indicators. All right, so moving on to marking indicators as NA or not applicable. So some indicators may not be applicable for your state's SPP APR. These can in turn be marked as not applicable. So after marking an indicator not applicable, an explanation must be entered into the text field and the page will then be saved. One thing also to note is if you are marking an indicator as not applicable, you also need to update the status to ready to submit afterwards. in order to actually submit your SPP APR. Okay, another feature in the SPP APR are cascading questions. So indicator questions in the SPP APR cascade, these questions are sets of questions whose options depend on the response to the previous question. So if you're reviewing the state template document that we made available, the red text in the templates show where to expect to see cascading questions in the tool and what causes each question to cascade specifically. So here's just more of an abstract visual of how that works. So you'll see based on the response to the question on the top, there are two different paths to take to answer the questions that follow. All right, our next topic is slippage. So the APR tool calculates slippage for each indicator. Indicators with slippage are flagged on the dashboard, which we'll review in our recorded demonstration. The definition of slippage is a worsening from the previous data and a failure to meet the target. The worsening also needs to meet certain thresholds to be considered slippage. So no slippage will display when the current year and prior year difference equals 1.0 or 0.1 percentage points. Slippage will display as NA in the system even when the status is met target if prior data are not available or prior data has been identified as not valid or reliable, or NVR. And then new for this year, comments entered into the provide reasons for slippage fields will be removed automatically when results are recalculated, resulting in no slippage or not applicable fields. And the slippage calculation definition can be viewed in the system by pressing the plus symbol at the bottom of each page. Okay, so moving along to descriptive or narrative responses and comment fields, the maximum character limit for these responses is 8,000 characters. To validate the length of your responses, there is a character counter at the bottom of each narrative response. If you're prepping your responses before going into the SPP APR, you could validate the length of your responses using the with spaces count in Microsoft Word, or you can enter the text into Notepad++. Please note that the form in the SPP APR cannot be saved if there are more than 8,000 characters entered. So upon clicking save, the system won't allow you to save the response entered, and it will also prevent you from marking the indicator as ready to submit. Another thing to keep in mind regarding the response boxes is that these are flat text fields. So the SPP APR output report created by the tool will be consistent and easy to read, but the boxes will not accommodate charts, bold text, italics, or hyperlinks. Okay, so moving on to attachments. States should work towards only providing data in the narrative or descriptive sections within the SPP APR collection tool. Attachments should only be uploaded if supplemental information is absolutely required by OSA. If attachments are needed to be uploaded in the event that additional information is required, these are the guidelines that you should keep in mind. Be sure to use a standard naming convention for all attachments so they're easily identifiable in both the file names and the description of the attachment. They can also be in any format, but may not be more than 1 GB in size. And most importantly, all attachments uploaded must be 508 compliant, and a screenshot of the 508 checker must be included at the end of the document. Please remember to add alt text for the 508 checker screenshots appended at the end of the document Keep in mind that any uploaded attachments that are non-compliant will not be included in the final SPP APR that is publicly posted. Also, be sure to review the 508 TA document posted to the SPP APR Community of Practice site for more information and guidance. This is the 508 Compliance Guidance and Tips TA document. And next, another feature I'd like to review is the Reports tab in the SPP APR. So the reports available in the SPP APR tool include the SPP APR document and internal comments extract. The SPP APR document is a Word document that can be generated on demand and downloaded at any time. It will contain current saved system responses, allowing you to review or share as necessary, both before and after submission. All questions and response fields from the template will appear in the docx document, and the final output created will include all uploaded attachments. There's also a CSV extract file of all internal comments, which is also available for your state's internal record keeping purposes. So now that we've reviewed a number of the system processes in the APR tool, now we're going to transition over to a recorded system demonstration of the SPP APR Part B. If you could please bear with me for one moment. Upon accessing the APR tool login screen, select I agree to accept the Department of Education's warning banner, and then you'll enter your username and password. I want to point out that if you don't know your password, select the Forgot Your Password link here, and then enter your username, not your email address, and then select Send Email. This will send an individualized link to reset your EMAP's password yourself. If you still have issues logging in, please call the Partner Support Center. So I'm going to select the Back to Sign In page to go back to the login screen. And I will select I agree again, and I'm going to go ahead and enter my test account. And I will select Sign In. Upon logging in, the system routes directly to the EDFAX portal. If you are unfamiliar with the EDFAX portal, this is where the links to access individual data collection surveys are located. If you have permissions to other EMAPS data collections, you'll have additional sections and/or survey links on the EDFAX portal. To access the SPP APR Part B, click the affiliated link, which will route you to the SPP APR State Dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and select the Part B link I have. And now you can see the SPP APR State Dashboard for Part B, which is full of detailed information. So first, let's go over each feature so that you have a better understanding of how to utilize the dashboard to manage your state's submission of the APR. The top menu bar has quick navigation to the dashboard, which we'll review shortly in detail throughout the demonstration. But first, let's go ahead and review the Help tab. On the Help tab, there are multiple different buttons to select, so I'm going to go over each of them. First, you can select the Resources button. This will give you access to the Part B template. If you select the Getting Started button, you'll have access to the Part B SPP APR User Guide. The State Users section is a list of all SPP APR users for your state with their information, if provided, and the SPP APR role they've been assigned. If users need to be added or removed, or permissions need to be changed, please contact the Partner Support Center. And the last button is the Contact Support page. And this is where you can view PSC's contact information, just in case you don't know it by heart yet and need some assistance in any way, shape, or form. All right. So next, I'm going to go ahead and select, using the quick navigation bar at the top, the dashboard. Now, to review the actual content of the dashboard, your overall status of the SPP APR will be displayed here. So currently I am in a not started status. That'll change soon. So once you initially begin editing a section and save it, that not started status will be updated to in progress. And then there is ready to submit after everything is completed, ready for certification, and then ultimately the submitted or certified status. On the right, this is the collections that pre-populate the SPP APR. So for the SPP APR Part B, we have school year 21-22 IDEA Part B assessment data. And we also have IDEA Part B dispute resolution data that will pre-populate some of the indicators. We also have a milestones bar, which is a timeline of all upcoming SPP APR open/close dates, all in one place for you to always have as a reference. As the dates pass, the milestone bar will turn blue and will continue to move forward towards each date. And I would like to scroll down to showcase the progress summary pie chart. So the progress summary pie chart reflects the overall progress of your SPP APR. Below the chart are statuses broken down by indicator. The legend on the left helps you understand the pie chart. So this pie chart will update in real time as you begin manually entering data into each indicator and eventually marking them as ready to submit. You can also select a status on the pie chart to actually filter the bottom section of the dashboard to display the indicators specifically in that status. So again, as you're going through, if you have a few sections that have been started or finished, but you'd like to filter those out to the not started folks, you can click the red section of your pie chart. And if you select the pie chart again, this will clear that filter. The bottom section of the state dashboard is reserved for information on each indicator. In general, this is a quick reference to help you as the state coordinator or director to determine which indicators need your attention and their status throughout the entire collection process. The status column displays the overall status of the entire indicator itself. Also displayed here will be whether the data met or did not meet the 2021 target and whether or not slippage occurred. A gray X indicates that data element isn't relevant to the indicator. So in these scenarios, those statuses have not been generated because we have not started the indicators yet. However, as you move through the application entering your data, you will see these status populate. So next, let's talk navigation. There are two ways to navigate through the SPP APR in the APR tool. From the state dashboard, you can enter and edit an indicator by selecting the pencil icon to the left. So I'll go ahead and select that on indicator 1. So this will jump you directly to that indicator. The other way to navigate from indicator to indicator while you're entering data is to use the drop-down menu at the top, which is also called the quick access bar. You can easily navigate to any indicator by using this drop-down menu, which is available on any page of the SPP APR while entering data. Simply select an indicator. So I'm going to select indicator 2 and select go. To begin manually entering data into any indicator, you'll want to select the edit button here. You'll see the words form is in edit mode in red font on the left, which indicates that you can now enter the manual entry data and comments as applicable. Clicking the Prev or Previous button will take you to the immediate indicator page prior to the one you're on. Clicking the Next button will advance you to the immediate indicator following the one you're on. As mentioned before, you can also use the drop-down menu at the top to skip directly to a specific indicator and a specific indicator subsection. Note that you'll remain in edit mode while you're navigating through the indicators and entering data into your state's annual report. You won't exit edit mode until you click back to the dashboard, review/submit, or close out of the website entirely. However, do not close out of the website entirely unless you have saved your data. Otherwise, everything you have entered will be lost. Note that the character limit for text fields in the SPP APR is 8,000 characters. The character limit is displayed below each text field. If a comment or description field is over 8,000 characters, the system will not allow the form to be saved as a draft. Data entry cannot continue until the character count is 8,000 or less, and the section is unable to be marked as ready to submit. Once the character limit is 8,000 or less, the page will save and can be marked ready to submit. Here's a tip for everyone. To determine the character count, use the with spaces count in Microsoft Word or enter the text into Notepad++, which will count the characters. From there, you can copy and paste the text into the APR tool, comment, or description field. And of course, you can always use the character counter at the bottom of each response box. Once you have entered data, you can scroll to the top or bottom of the page and select the Save button. Upon clicking Save, the system will return you to the same indicator page, and a new Ready to Submit button will appear. Once this button is clicked, the system will display a message highlighted in green at the bottom of the page that says, "You have successfully updated section status to ready to submit," and that means that this indicator will now be marked as ready to submit on your dashboard. Before we continue, I just want to make it very clear that marking an indicator as ready to submit should be completed after all data has been entered into every section of the indicator, including required actions. This is extremely important because once an indicator is marked as ready to submit, the system considers it complete. If data are entered after marking an indicator as ready to submit, it could impact the overall status of the SPP APR. So make sure data entry is complete and reviewed before marking an indicator as ready to submit. So let's journey back to the dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and select the dashboard button in the upper left. And when you return to the dashboard, you'll see that the progress summary pie chart has been updated, and the status for indicator 2 now reflects ready to submit. So next, I'm going to select the reports tab. Here is where you'll find a docx version of your state's SPP APR, both pre and post submission. Before submission, you'll be able to view the docx, which will display information as it is entered into the APR by selecting this docx link. The system will prompt you to download it to your computer. Once the APR is submitted, the submission date and time will appear. You can then download the final docx version of your submitted SPP APR. Once all data has been validated, both pre-populated and manual entry, and every section is identified as ready to submit, the system will now allow you to submit your SPP APR. To initiate the certification process, someone with submit permissions can either select the Review/Submit tab and then navigate to the certification section at the bottom, or they can select the Submit button on the dashboard, which I will do right now. The submitter will need to select Edit on the certification page and provide all required information. I will go ahead and update this with some test information. Once all information has been added, you may select the Submit APR button at the bottom right of the screen to submit your SPP APR. A note at the bottom of the screen will appear in green stating that your APR report has been submitted successfully. That means the process of submission is complete. Next, I'll return to the dashboard. And now you can see that our overall status appears as submitted and turns green, as well as the progress summary pie chart. Additionally, a confirmation email will be sent to all active users in the state. Please note that resubmissions are not allowed in the SPP APR. Once the SPP APR is officially submitted, the report is considered final. Again, just a reminder to mark indicators as ready to submit once all data entry has been reviewed and is deemed final. So that concludes our SPP APR technical demonstration. As a reminder, please contact the Partner Support Center for any assistance during the SPP APR submission process. All right, so next I'd like to review some technical assistance materials that are available on the SPP APR Community of Practice site. So we have first some technical videos, some short technical videos that provide quick guidance on navigating the APR tool, as well as a Part B user guide. And we also have the Part B state template to review as well, that I know is very helpful for folks. And we will also be adding all of our broadcasts that are distributed this year on this page as well. And if you ever need to locate our particular broadcast, you can select the documents section of the SPP APR COP site. So if you have any questions throughout this process, please contact the Partner Support Center. We're here from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, weekdays excluding federal holidays. Our phone number is 877-457-3336, and our email is edfax@ed.gov. So I would like to give folks a few more minutes to submit any technical questions or anything like that in the Q&A panel, and we can address them in the time that remains. So I'm going to give folks 3 or 4 minutes to submit any kind of lingering questions into the Q&A panel before we sign off today. Hi all. Just a reminder, we're currently in our question and answer phase of today's presentation. I saw a couple come in, question about adding a table into the document and some other notes. If anyone has any remaining questions, please submit them into the Q&A panel at this time. Be happy to respond to those. We'll give folks a couple more minutes before we shut down today's session. All right, it looks like we've addressed all the questions in the Q&A panel. Again, I just want to reiterate, if there are any additional questions that come to mind after, absorbing that demo or getting the launch broadcast on Monday, please do not hesitate to reach out to the Partner Support Center. Again, we can be reached at 877-457-3336, and then by email at edfax@ed.gov. So that concludes today's presentation. As a reminder, we will be posting a recording of today's session and the slide deck on the SPP APR Community of Practice website after today's session. I would like to thank everyone for your time and participation today. And stay tuned for the launch broadcast that will go out Monday, December 19th, when the SPP APR Part B is open. So with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.